Aside from your alarm clock, no sound lasts forever, even the calls of entire species. In fact, it's estimated that 99% of all creatures that have ever lived on our big blue ball are now silent forever. That's over 5 billion species whose voices we'll never hear again. But today, I've got some incredible last recordings of animals that no longer walk this earth. From haunting calls captured just before extinction to sounds you won't believe are real, here are the last audio recordings of 7 extinct animals. Number 7. Tasmanian tiger. The Tasmanian tiger. Scientists say no one has ever made a confirmed recording of its voice, but in 2017, deep in the forests of Tasmania, 2 researchers may have caught one. Chris Rayberg knew these woods. He had searched for thylacines before. In 2013, he heard strange calls echoing across a valley. Short, sharp sounds unlike anything he'd ever heard, so he went back. This time with another researcher named Rob Bagshaw, this time with microphones. On one single night, 7 different events happened over 2 hours. Yipping, steady, spaced-out yips cutting through the dark, like a small dog, but somehow wrong. Twigs snapped nearby as the calls started. Rob heard footsteps, not a bird, something on the ground. Something moving. People who saw thylacines over 100 years ago described their hunting calls the exact same way. Sharp double yaps and rough coughing barks. These were people who actually watched thylacines hunt live animals. If that microphone really caught what they think it did, it holds a ghost. It wouldn't just be the first time anyone ever recorded a Tasmanian tiger. It would be the last. Experts couldn't agree on what it was. Some said it was a type of owl. Others said it was a sugar glider. But the calls traveled over a kilometer across the valley, much farther than any owl or glider could ever be heard. No match was found when they checked it against 54 known bird species in Tasmania. The last confirmed thylacine died in 1936. It was locked out of its zoo shelter on a freezing night and froze to death alone on concrete, just 59 days after the government finally decided to protect them. By then, hunters had already killed thousands. So was that sound in the darkness a thylacine? Nobody can prove it, but nobody can rule it out either. Because here's the problem. There is no real recording to compare it to. We have the journals. We know what they sounded like on paper, but we wiped them out before anyone could press record. Number 6. Spix's macaw. The bird from Rio was real. It sounded like a broken hinge screaming in the dark. In the year 2000, ornithologist Brett Whitney pressed record in the dry scrublands of Bahia, Brazil. He was capturing the voice of the last wild Spix's macaw on Earth, just one male, the last of his bloodline. The bird's call echoed off the Caraíba trees, but no other Spixes could answer. He'd been calling like that for years. No mate, no flock, just a small blue ghost haunting a dying forest. Trappers had stolen the others. Wealthy collectors paid tens of thousands for a single bird. The Caatinga woodlands were burned for cattle grazing. Even the nesting holes were taken, invaded by introduced African bees. By October 2000, the lone male vanished. Researchers searched for weeks across flooded dirt roads during Brazil's rainy season. They never found him. Some say he died of old age. Others believe a collector finally got the last one. His Illiger's macaw companion, a completely different species he'd bonded with out of desperation, was spotted waiting at their roost. Alone now, too. Play the recording today. You'll hear a voice designed to carry across miles of forest, reaching for its own kind. It found nothing. Still, in 2022, captive-bred Spix's macaws were released into that same forest. Their calls now fill the same air. Whether they remember the song of the wild ones, nobody knows. Number 5. Baiji River dolphin. The Baiji, China's goddess of the Yangtze, nearly blind. It spoke through sound, short, rising whistles that pulsed once per second through brown river water. For 20 million years, that voice never stopped until it did. Most of what we know about Baiji sound comes from one dolphin, Chi-Chi. Rescued from a fishing net in 1980, he lived alone at the Institute of Hydrobiology in Wuhan. Researchers lowered hydrophones into his pool. They captured his clicks, his whistles, quick bursts that swept upward like questions nobody could answer. He was the only Baiji in captivity. No mate ever joined him. He called out anyway. Chi-Chi died on July 14, 2002. 4 years later, 60 scientists spent 6 weeks searching the entire Yangtze. 2 boats, high-powered cameras, underwater microphones dragged through every mile of his old river. They recorded hours of audio, cargo ships, engines, dredging machines, fishing boats pulling electric nets through the current. Somewhere beneath all that noise, a 20-million-year-old voice was supposed to exist. It didn't, not a single whistle. The species was declared functionally extinct. Here's what stays with me. The Baiji didn't go quiet because it stopped calling. The river just got so loud, so violent, so full of human sound, that even if one still lived down there, we'd never hear it. Maybe that's worse. Not silence, just us, drowning everything else out. Number 4, the ivory-billed woodpecker. People called it the Lord God bird because that's what you'd say if you ever saw one. Most people never did. In April 1935, 5 bird scientists from Cornell University loaded 2 trucks full of recording equipment. They drove to a swamp in Louisiana called the Singer Tract. They walked through flooded waters for days. When they finally found a nest, they sat nearby for a whole week. They wrote in notebooks and listened through headphones. What they heard was a short, strange sound, a single Kent, soft, like a toy trumpet played from far away. No one knew it at the time, but those recordings would be the first ever made of this bird. They would also be the last. The Singer Sewing Company owned that forest. A logging company had the right to cut down the trees. People who cared about nature begged them to stop. They said no. By the 1940s, the old trees were gone, so were the birds. The last time anyone saw one for sure was in 1944. It was a single female. An artist drew her just before she flew away for good. But here's the part that sticks with you. In 2005, scientists from Cornell set up microphones all across the swamps of Arkansas. They recorded over 18,000 hours of quiet. Hidden somewhere in all that silence, a few faint sounds that matched those calls from 1935, but still no clear photo. No one could say for sure they'd seen one. The US government tried to say the species was extinct, gone forever, but it couldn't. Too many people refused to believe the bird's voice was really gone, so the ivory-billed woodpecker stays stuck in between. Not proven alive, not officially dead. You can still hear its voice on a tape from 1935. But no one can prove it's still out there today. Number 3, the Christmas Island pipistrelle. It weighed less than a nickel. It was the last of its kind, wiped out by snakes that never belonged on its island. August 2009. Scientists huddle in a small house in the Christmas Island rainforest. Dr. Rupert Baker peers through night vision goggles at a fern-covered clearing. One pipistrelle remains, just one. They've strung mist nets to catch it for a breeding program. The bat darts toward the trap, fast, agile, yet veers at the last second, vanishing over the net. Baker raises a detector, recording its echolocation onto his phone. The clicks are ultrasonic, too high for human ears. Only the machine hears this voice. August 26, 2009, 7:47 p.m. After that moment, the detector went silent. The team searched every trail for days. No signal, no body, no bat. Wolf snakes, giant centipedes, yellow crazy ants. Invasive species colonized the island for decades. Experts begged for a breeding program. Approval came too late. One bat remained. The recording exists, but you can't hear it naturally. Engineers had to pitch shift it down so human ears could process it. We needed technology just to witness what we lost. Christmas Island still has its warm nights. The sky above those trees, though, is permanently empty. Number 2, the huya. Listen closely to the ancient huya. Rich hunters destroyed this New Zealand bird just to steal its prized feathers. The species disappeared forever in 1907, but one old Maori man still remembered its haunting song many years later. He bravely stepped forward. A researcher turned on a tape recorder in the winter of 1954. The old tracker pressed his lips together. Hanara Hamana copied the beautiful flute-like call he had heard all through his childhood. The real singers were already gone. Greedy hunters had chased the last living flocks through dying forests just to sell their rare feathers. Silence took over the empty woods, so this scratchy old tape holds a very strange secret. You will not hear a bird. You are about to hear a human voice trying to copy a ghost. He softly whistles into the emptiness. The dying breath of a lost species moves right through a man. Listen to the final song. This sad echo fades into total silence within a few seconds. Hanare Hamana died very soon after. All those precious musical memories went into the cold ground, right beside the beautiful birds he once loved so deeply. What other voices have we lost? Humans carelessly erase rare music from the living world every single day. We always notice the silence too late. Number 1. The Kauai Oo. The Kauai Oo song was designed for 2 voices. The male would call out, pause, wait for the female to answer. Together, they'd create a duet, a love song split between 2 birds. In 1987, deep inside the Alakai wilderness on Kauai, a recording captured the very last male. He sang his half of the duet, clear, flute-like notes rising through the rainforest. He paused, waited for a response. Nothing came back. Just silence where her voice should have been. Hurricane Iwa had already taken the last female years before. He didn't know that, so he kept singing. Scientist Jim Jacoby once played back a recording of this bird's own voice. The male flew straight toward the speaker. He thought he'd finally heard another of his kind. He hadn't heard one in years. It was just his own song bouncing back at him. This species survived for over 15 million years. An entire bird family gone. Not a single relative left anywhere on Earth. The recording still exists in Cornell's archives. You can listen to it right now. You'll hear the male call out, bright, hopeful. You'll hear the pause where the female part belongs. You'll wait for her response, just like he did. She never answers. Those recordings are tough to listen to, but they're a huge wake-up call to protect the animals still calling out today. If this video hit home for you, hit subscribe so we can keep sharing these amazing stories together. Catch you in the next one.